All right, good morning, everyone. I'm Bruce Gordon with the Minnesota Department of Public Safety, and thank you for joining us today for this news conference. This holiday season, law enforcement agencies from around the state are going to be on the lookout for drunk drivers, and we're going to tell you why in just a moment. You're going to be hearing from three speakers. First, Donna Berger, who is the Office of Traffic Safety Director here at the Department of Public Safety. Lynne Goughler, who lost both parents to a drunk driver the week of Thanksgiving back in 1992. You'll hear from Lynne. And then also Lieutenant Eric Roski from the Minnesota State Patrol. So with that, Donna Berger.
Good morning, and thank you for joining us this morning. This week, loved ones will be coming home for Thanksgiving, or you may be traveling to be with friends or family that you haven't seen for months. It's an exciting time, and it's also a perfect time to kick off our DWI enforcement and awareness campaign across the state to keep motorists and memories safe this holiday season. Appropriately, we kick off our campaign less than 24 hours before what some are calling Blackout Wednesday. This day has a reputation for binge drinking for college students and family members returning home that are off for the Thanksgiving holiday. The Minnesota State Patrol says that traditionally the Wednesday night before Thanksgiving is one of the biggest drinking nights of the year. On Twitter, Blackout Wednesday has its own hashtag now, and the tweets are already flowing. They're including things like, very excited about Blackout Wednesday options in Minneapolis. It's the best week of the year, Thanksgiving, Blackout Wednesday. Blackout Wednesday, let the planning begin. We want people to enjoy and celebrate the holidays, and a growing number of motorists are making that smart decision to not combine drinking and driving. But it still happens way too often. There's no pressing the rewind button after a drunk driver gets behind the wheel and forever changes the lives of others. One person knows all too well life has no rewind is Lynne Goughler. She lost both her parents, Jerry and Ross, to a drunk driver Thanksgiving week 1992. At that time, the .08 law did not exist. After her parents' deaths, Lynne worked tirelessly to help pass the .08 in Minnesota and has dedicated her life to stop drunk driving. I'd like to ask Lynne to come to the podium.
Thank you, Donna. 22 years ago, my parents were on their way to visit me for Thanksgiving. It had been our tradition, no matter where I lived or they lived, that we joined together for Thanksgiving and Christmas. The day that they were to arrive, they called me on the phone and said, we're going to spend the night here because there's a storm north and there's a storm south, and we don't want to get into any kind of traffic problems, so we're going to be safe and stay here. About 5 hours later, the police chief in the area where I lived came to my door. I remember opening the door, and he took off his hat. And I stepped back, and I said, which one? And he said, both. I learned later that they had been killed crossing the street by a driver who had been sitting and drinking from 3 o'clock in the afternoon to 7. My dad was taken to the hospital. My mother was killed at the scene. The driver was let go because he only tested a .08. I followed up and, of course, went to where they were to take care of the funerals and the burials, sell their home, and all the other things that are involved when that happens. I was told that the prosecutor would not pursue that case, that he had a terrible accident. In 1994, I moved back to Minnesota, and I started working with MAD. And I worked for 18 years to get a law passed and hope down the road that I will live long enough to see drunk driving gone forever. Those memories have stayed with me for all of this time, and the one thing that continues to come into those memories is, as tragic as my loss was, this goes on all over the United States. Multiply it by all the responders, all of the police officers that have to go to my door, the nurses and doctors who I talk to frequently in hospitals who say they will never get over seeing something like that because it's so easily averted. This is a tragedy that we need to work to eliminate, and I believe in my lifetime we will eliminate drunk driving, and I hope we will begin to take this more seriously than we've taken in the past. We've come a long way. The deaths in Minnesota have certainly decreased, and now we're working with technology so a drunk driver cannot get behind the wheel of a car. This is something that is very important to victims such as myself. My memories of my parents will be forever, but for the last 22 years, and I've talked to many victims, something very strange happens to me 2 weeks before Thanksgiving, and I've had all of my friends point it out to me. I get very moody, I get cranky, I kind of withdraw into myself, and then I realize next week my parents were killed. Most victims have that reaction, and I pray going forward that we eliminate drunk driving. Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn. The Department of Public Safety and the Office of Traffic Safety DWI Extra Enforcement Campaign is a statewide multi-agency effort. It begins tomorrow and runs every weekend through December 27th. Nearly 400 law enforcement agencies are involved in the campaign. Currently, almost 600,000 Minnesota residents have a DWI on their record. That's 1 out of every 7 licensed drivers in this state. Last year in Minnesota, law enforcement arrested over 25,000 motorists for DWI, and 81 people lost their lives to drunk driving crashes. Our dream is for the state patrol troopers to hit the road and not find one person behind the wheel drunk. Unfortunately, we know this is not a reality. So until the day comes when all drivers make the right decision to find a sober ride home, the State Patrol will do everything in our power to take drunks off the road and keep you and your family safe. Please help us keep the roads safe by not drinking and driving. I'd like to open it up for questions and invite Lynn and Donna back up if they have anything to add.
Talk about Black Wednesday. Is there an increase in drinking Black Friday as well?
Well, the Blackout Wednesday, as it's commonly referred to, is typically one of the biggest nights for people to go out and celebrate, get together. Many people are coming back from college, coming home from out of town and meeting with friends. We know that history has shown it's one of the biggest nights of the year for the bar business. And so while we want people to enjoy that time with their friends and loved ones, we also want them to make a smart decision and arrange for a safe and sober ride home before they go out tomorrow night.
Can you talk a little bit about these campaigns, whether it's seatbelt, speeding, DWI? Are they an effective deterrent?
Yes. Do you want to address that, Donna? Donna will address that piece.
Our enforcement and education campaigns are an effective deterrent. Over the years, we have seen an increase in seatbelt use. It's gone from, as low as 28% many years ago to 95%. Our surveys are showing that people are buckling up. Our drinking and driving campaigns, that number is consistently going down. Back in the 60s, up to 60% of our fatalities were alcohol related. And now we're down, the number's going down. We always say 1 is too many. There shouldn't have to be victims' families getting that knock on the door. They are making a difference, and we want people to take the responsibility, like Eric said, plan ahead, plan for that sober ride, do all that you can to be safe in your vehicle. Drive defensively, buckle that seatbelt, drive at safe speeds, and most of these crashes could be eliminated.
Any other questions? Anybody else? Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.